What is going on? How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's having a good week so far. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. We have some Tennessee football to talk about because there are some quarterback, I guess, questions over in Tennessee that intrigue me a lot because there's a pretty heavy quarterback transfer portal right now, and you're losing Joey Aguilar, so you're gonna be in the market for a quarterback. Is basically what I'm saying. So I want to go over some candidates that I think could potentially be a good fit, or some candidates that I could see Josh Heupel even going after. So first off, before we do get into the candidates, I do want to talk about Josh Heupel has been very under the radar impressive with quarterback development, if you look back. So you got Hendon Hooker, who turned out really good. Was he an NFL quarterback? No. Like not a good one, but was he a good college quarterback? Absolutely. You got Nico after that. Did very good with Nico. I thought Nico was a pretty good quarterback there. And when Nico left, you bring in Joey Aguilar. I think a lot of fans were kind of bummed about the Joey Aguilar pickup because they they didn't really know what to expect from him. He was kind of a raw prospect, wasn't really hyped up going into Tennessee. We saw some clips out of training camp with Joey Aguilar where it wasn't looking so good, and then he turns out to have a very, very good season. So Josh Heupel, in my opinion, he can take these quarterbacks who don't have much hype around them, or really that aren't supposed to be too much, and I think you could really maximize their potential as to what they do at Tennessee. And I think Josh Heupel's done that. So it's going to be very intriguing with some really good players in the transfer portal, whether they'll go the more unproven route like we've seen Josh Heupel do, or whether they'll go the proven route and just try and get one of the top guys and really go try and win the thing next year. So, first candidate is Josh Hoover. I've heard his name linked to Tennessee. I don't, like I said, we don't fully know if they're going to go transfer portal, but I believe they will. I believe they should right now. I think Josh Hoover is one of the better, more underrated quarterbacks in the country, in my opinion. And maybe that's a stretch. I've watched a lot of Josh Hoover in TCU. I think he's very good. He has very good touch on his deep ball. He's a good pocket presence. If you go watch his game against North Carolina, I know that's not saying much because North Carolina was a dumpster fire this year, but he looked great. He looked great, and he looks like that in a lot of his games. I think this is a guy that I can see in a Josh Heupel offense, and I could see him absolutely wrecking it at Tennessee in that offense because I'd say it's a quarterback friendly offense. I think that's what we've kind of seen. He reminds me of the same play style as Joey Aguilar, but just more polished and a little more better. And I think if Josh Heupel can bring in Josh Hoover and help Josh Hoover hit his ceiling, you got a guy there. Now, the next one. Thought I had his 24/7 pulled up. That's Colton Joseph. So, Colton Joseph is a guy, he's a true dual threat quarterback. We haven't really seen a true dual threat quarterback at Tennessee in the recent years. So it would be a strange fit. He can throw the ball around, obviously. He can use his legs. He rushed for over 1,000 yards at Old Dominion, so that's saying something. And I think he's another guy with a very high ceiling. And if Josh Heupel can help him hit that ceiling, you got a guy there. He's maybe he can add another side or more dimensions to that Tennessee offense, being able to use his legs. Maybe it can make it more dangerous. If he can sit in the pocket and deliver passes like most quarterbacks do in the Tennessee offense, and then keep those defenses on his toes by using his legs at an elite level when you're rushing for 1,000 yards as a quarterback, that's something interesting. That's something very interesting. How would it work in that Tennessee offense? I think you can make it work. And again, like I said, I think Josh Heupel could really help him as a passer. There were some turnover issues, but you're going to see turnover issues with a lot of these guys. So Colton Joseph is definitely a guy to watch out for. We don't really know what his market is quite yet. Like, I don't really know who all is in on him. I think Tennessee, I would be pretty shocked if Tennessee wasn't at least talking to him or haven't at least reached out, I would say. And I do see Colton Joseph as a guy who is going to be a late riser in this quarterback market for the transfer portal. So the next one is DJ Lagway. I don't know if Tennessee's going to show interest here, but I think it would be a pretty good fit. I get it. A lot of you guys, you know a good bit about Florida if you're a Tennessee fan, and you may not like what you saw out of Lagway. I watched a lot of DJ Lagway as well. You can see the flashes. You can see the potential. You got a guy like Josh Heupel, who I just mentioned, develops quarterbacks at a pretty high level, makes some very good college quarterbacks. DJ Lagway reminds me of a Hendon Hooker type. If you could fix him, he'll be around a Hendon Hooker type. Maybe even better. That's my opinion. Maybe that's a bad comparison, but based off of what I see, he reminds me of Hendon Hooker, the play style at least. I think you can develop him into a pretty good pocket passer. DJ's not as dual threat as he was kind of labeled to be out of high school as a baseball player and everything. He was a really good athlete. He hasn't really shown the ability to use his legs much at Florida. Maybe that's something that he's just keeping out of his game that maybe Josh Heupel could bring out of him. I mean, you know the athleticism is there. Can you can you find ways to help him use his legs and really make him a two-dimensional player? Because at Florida, it seemed like being a one-dimensional player kind of hurt him at times. You know, when he felt like he couldn't use his legs, he'd just chunk a ball up and it'd be a pick. That's why he threw 5 picks against LSU. I think get the right coaching. I do think DJ Lagway was very let down by coaching. So I think if DJ Lagway does land at Tennessee, I think that's a good fit, and I think you'll see similar to similar development to what you saw with Joey Aguilar when you didn't have much expectation coming in, but you know the ceiling is there. Now another one, Jaden Davis. So Jaden Davis was a very hyped up prospect out of high school. Bryce Underwood unfortunately went to Michigan over Davis, or he went to Michigan and got the depth chart spot over Davis because Underwood's a 5-star. Jaden Davis was a 4-star out of high school from North Carolina. So you're not too far from Tennessee. I don't know what Jaden Davis's market will be because he hasn't played a snap, I don't think. I think he's barely played in college. But like I said, he was a very hyped up prospect out of high school, and a lot of teams were in on him. And if I can remember correctly, I think Tennessee was at least offered. So Josh Heupel knows about the guy. And obviously, if you're a 4-star coming out of high school, you got something there. You got something there. Because obviously, Michigan's paying Bryce Underwood a ton of money. Seems like he's going to come in and start no matter what. Jaden Davis is intriguing. Because, like I said, you know there's talent there somewhere, being you're a 4-star. You don't know how well it's going to translate to college because he hasn't played in college yet. So it's kind of like bringing a guy out of high school, but he's actually practiced under a college offense for a few years. If we get what we were thinking out of Jaden Davis, I think this could be a pretty good move for Tennessee, and it will be a cheaper move. So maybe you can bring in a guy like Jaden Davis, develop him, and then put more money elsewhere in the roster. Try and build around Jaden Davis and try and go win something. Again, like I said, we don't really know exactly what Jaden Davis is, but it's very intriguing. And being he is probably going to have a bit of a smaller market, I can see Tennessee swooping him maybe last minute and stealing him over. I think that's something to watch out for. Now, the last one is Kenny Minchie. So he was in a quarterback battle at Notre Dame with CJ Carr in camp, and a lot of Notre Dame insiders were saying Kenny Minchie won it. A lot of them were saying that it was his job to lose. Everybody said he outperformed CJ Carr in that camp, and CJ Carr was named the starting quarterback. He's from Tennessee, so that's something to watch for. Bring him home. Bring him home and see what's made there. I think Kenny Minchie is another guy, kind of like Joey Aguilar. I watched Kenny Minchie a good bit in high school. I really liked what I saw. I think this is a guy that Josh Heupel could come in and develop because he seemed pretty. I mean, it's based off what you hear from the Notre Dame camps. He's pretty polished. Like he's more polished than what a lot of people would expect with not playing much. So, I mean, CJ Carr had a pretty good year. So if Kenny Minchey beat him in that quarterback battle, you would kind of expect somewhere around the same for Kenny Minchey. I think if you put a guy that had about CJ Carr's productivity in Tennessee, when you're paying a cheaper price for a guy like Kenny Minchey and build around him with that other money that you have, I think I think you have a good shot to at least get in the college football playoffs. And who knows what Kenny Minchey's ceiling is? He was a another guy hyped up out of high school, just hasn't played much. We haven't been able to see what he's capable of. So that's a very intriguing name to me. And that's another one that I really wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee really did make a move for. So that's all I have for this. That's all I have for this video. I just wanted to come on here and talk about some of these candidates that I believe could be in the play for Tennessee at quarterback for 2026, bearing quarterback questions for next year. So if you're a Tennessee fan and you did enjoy this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you did drop a subscribe on the channel. I'm we've been growing pretty quick, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm very intrigued about this Tennessee team in 2026. So we'll have a lot of content coming about Tennessee in the transfer portal and all over all other places basically. So yeah, that would be it for this one. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.